unmarked cash, unpaid taxes, uninsured workers, unsafe conditions. Worker misclassification is a huge problem, and it's a problem for all of us.
It's not just a phenomenon along the border. It exists in the middle part of the country, in the Northeast, in California, in the Northwest. I think it is an elephant of enormous proportions.
You start putting dollar signs on it. You start talking in the state of Massachusetts. It's about $150 to $150 million lost to the state income tax. So this is just one state.
New Jersey, I can tell you what we're finding. I think it was $295 million in wages that were not reported. They were misclassified as independent contractors. Reclassifying that, we came up with about $15 million in just unemployment taxes, and that just represents 2% of our employers in New Jersey.
Here in the state of California, the misclassification of employees can contribute to up to $7 billion in overall taxes that are not being reported and not being made available for our health care, for our schools, for our roads.
In the construction industry, paying workers as 1099 independent contractors, replacing paychecks with straight cash, is a growing crime, with many costs and many victims.
Construction is a mess. Tons of work is under the table.
When I was paying guys under the table, I would tell them, there's nothing getting paid into Social Security or L&I or anything like that, but if you get hurt, you go on the books that day.
I was going to be an employee. It completely was a sham. They never turned in the paperwork. I never received any tax information at the end of the year.
Wasn't covered by unemployment insurance, none of that kind of stuff. I know it's worse today. It's happening to way more people today than what it was when I did it.
Obviously, there's a growing number of people out there who know what the law is, who know they're doing it wrong, and they're hoping they're not going to get caught.
Why are contractors so willing to break these laws?
These contractors are making great profits on the backs of these people who are not receiving a living wage.
They won't have to pay overtime, they won't have to pay payroll taxes, they won't have to pay workers' comp. It's all about the bottom line and nothing more than that.
You gotta understand the mindset of the contractors who would do this. They're criminals.
And who bears the costs of this scam?
Responsible employers who are doing what they're supposed to do under the law, they are working at a competitive disadvantage against people who are not abiding by the laws.
Because of the tax situation, they're not having to pay for the Social Security tax, the unemployment tax, they don't have to furnish work comp insurance, and that puts us on really an unlevel playing field.
There's no taxes paid on these wages. The employer isn't paying any taxes. That's less money into the school system for your kid, and their kid might be in there too, and they're not paying for their kid, and they're taking money from your kid.
Obviously, the worker is facing immediate and long-term problems. They're losing workers' compensation. They may not realize that they are losing the possibility of ever being able to collect Social Security.
Social Security, they send you out the little forms saying how much you would be making when you retire on Social Security. And I look back in those years that I was working cash under the table, and there's nothing there.
The medical system is a stakeholder because benefits are not paid, people don't have medical insurance, the emergency rooms are filled with people that the hospitals have to accommodate.
This is a form of insurance scam that's hurting the insurance company.
So you are paying higher insurance premiums for that. Your employers are paying higher workers' compensation premiums because of misclassified employees.
When you got criminals out there that are stealing taxes, not paying their appropriate amount of taxes under the law, it puts a burden on all of us. All of us.
But worker misclassification is about more than the money. Dishonest contractors put workers at risk.
Now they push the envelope a little further. Now what corner can we cut next? And it's the next thing naturally is safety.
I asked them to put 2x4s to protect the people from fall. And they say, no, we don't have to do that because we don't have to spend money or time because everybody knows have to be careful.
On this condo project near Kansas City, the contractor ignored safety, and a worker paid the price.
Then I called Mike, the boss. And I told him, hey, we have a problem. One of the workers fell. He told me, don't give my name and don't give my number to nobody.
The doctors told me that after I was injured in the fall, some blood formed on my brain. This makes it difficult for me to walk. The left side of my body is partially paralyzed from my face all the way down to my feet. That's why I walk like that, because I feel this side of my body sleeping, and it doesn't answer me.
Despite the accident, the contractor kept pushing, and just a month later, a second accident involved 2 workers.
These men were working on sawhorses, 4 stories up on the edge, working on a soffit, leaning out over the building. But when one of them started falling, they grabbed the other one, so they both fell.
One worker died, and the other was disabled, probably for life.
The pains I have from the fall give me headaches every day. My wife is completely devastated because no one helps us. Sometimes we don't have anything to eat. Physically, I'm affected because I don't know how long it will be until I work again, or even if I'm ever going to work again.
Stories like this are too common, and the whole industry knows it. Now it's time to act.
It's an epidemic, as Keith was talking about, across the country, and we're just dealing with this in Kansas, and I believe that there's something can be done.
We've got an issue that brings together workers, employers, the government, insurance companies. We all have an interest in solving this problem.
Just how do we solve the problem? We step up our enforcement.
It's time that the various agencies that we have out there, that they be empowered with the tools, the information, and the knowledge, and jointly working together to go after these individuals.
We develop new resources for the fight.
So coming up with various audit and investigative approaches where it's going to include the Division of Taxation, various states' revenue departments and labor departments. And I think the biggest thing that we have to do is trying to leverage, say, federal and state laws and agencies to address the real abusers of the problem.
And we solve the problem by prosecuting every crime.
I took an oath of office as a prosecutor, and my oath says that in my jurisdiction, if a crime is being committed and I can prove that crime, that I have an obligation to do that. The prosecutor has tools that no other person has, of course, the power of a grand jury, and secondly, search warrants. Civil forfeiture is another tool that we use. In one case, we had a contractor, he received jail time, he had to repay the workers, and then I took virtually every one of his assets. And what we do is we use that money in order to sustain further prosecution. We conduct those cases. There is absolutely no reason, and we do it together. There is just no reason whatsoever why we can't, A, be putting these contractors and the subcontractors in jail. Thank you.
Winning this fight will mean more law enforcement, and it won't cost a lot to do more.
A nominal amount of funding is necessary. For every 50 cents we put in, we probably get $50 back. You know, if we aggressively go after these individuals.
This is an effort that everyone can support.
And I believe that both Republicans and Democrats believe we ought to protect legitimate businesses that are playing by the rules, that are cooperating, that are protecting their employees, and paying the fair share.
1099 misclassification. It's time to play by the rules.